So what's the premise? What's the story behind The Crow? It's about a guy and a girl. They love each other. They're fiancés, and to celebrate and commemorate their wedding, they want to do it on Halloween in Detroit back in the 90s, which, seems like the gloomiest, most doom riddled of places to do that, but shout outs to love, eternal love at least, of course, as we'll see as the movie progresses. It's Shelley and Eric Draven, slash the Crow, Brandon Lee, of course, the part he's playing. So they're gonna get married on Halloween. That's what they want to do. They're both like, he's goth. I guess she's goth by association or forced upon her. Which I mean, she's just supporting a goth rocker boyfriend in the band, so that's cool too. Again, shouts to love. It's lovely. They want to get married on Halloween, but leading up to it, the night before in Detroit, there's this tradition called Devil's Night, which is basically all the, not to say all, but I guess what happens, maybe still, who knows, I don't know, is a lot of the gangs or hooligans out there just start all the fires possible around Detroit, and hence Devil's Night. It's I guess the night when the fiends, the criminals, come out at night. Leading up to that shit, she is attacked by a gang of hooligans, apparently from this one guy who leads the gang in the city, who like pretty much has a stronghold on the whole city. She's attacked, she's beaten, she's raped, and the nerve of these guys still, on top of everything they did already. But then again, everything they did to her, I guess they might as well have killed her, because then how's she going to live with herself knowing she was abused in all forms, in all ways unimaginable, but unfortunately done to her, and then they kill her. And then he walks in, Eric, on her being attacked by, was it like 4 or 5 guys at least. He gets shot, he gets stabbed, and of course he gets killed, watching his to-be wife getting ravaged like she was. And then he, on top of that, has to get thrown out the window of their loft from, what was it, 3, 4 floors up high, dead, of course, splat on the ground as soon as he hits. And then that's the end of them, right? Or so you think, because there's more to the movie, of course. So Shelley and Eric are dead. They died on Devil's Night, leading into Halloween, the day they were supposed to get married. So there's a young girl involved. I forget her name, but she is a friend of Eric and Shelley. She's with them all the time because they don't mind taking care of her and I guess technically raising her, considering her own actual legit mother's too busy getting high and shooting shit up in her arms with, the random hoodlums, scurrying the city and working at the bar and all that. So she's no good to the girl, but at least the girl has 2 good friends willing to take care of her and be cool with her and all that. She sees a tombstone. She sees the Crow sitting on top of the tombstone. She thinks nothing of it. She walks away. And then, as I mentioned, the Crow magically brings back to life Eric Draven, so he can do his thing as the Crow, as the Avenger for justice, and specifically for the justice that he needs brought back in honor of himself and, most importantly, Shelley, his wife to be. So he's brought back to life on the following year's Devil's Night leading into Halloween, and that's his whole MO. He has to go back to where he died and where she was killed and ravaged and everything, relive the moments in his head after touching his cat. And he is then refreshed and brought to speed on what happened. So now he knows he's back. He's back to get revenge. And now he knows who to look out for to get his revenge. So basically, he chases down the guys one by one, starts picking them off until he gets to the big boss, does his thing there. And that's the premise of The Crow. Now we'll get into what actually happens in the movie. So, like I said, the whole setting of the film is a goth person's wet dream. The imagery, the settings, the backgrounds and backdrops, it's all cool because it's so dark and black. And the cool thing is, it still looks 90-ish as far as the vibes are concerned, but not too 90s or so 90s that it makes it look like it should have been just stuck in the 90s or left behind there. So I think that's a part of why it's still fondly remembered as of today, 30 years later. And I mean, besides the fact that it's a good movie too, well acted, we'll get more into that too as well. But at least the vibes, the mood, the looks of it makes sense. And it's cool back then, cool still now even. So after Eric is brought back to life by the Crow, who basically said to him without saying a word besides squawk, is, all right, motherfucker, you're back. You're gonna go and get revenge for yourself. for your fiance, for the woman that was to be your wife, on these scumbags, and then immediately you're done. That's it. You got one job and one job only. It just involves a couple of tasks that need to be carried out directly by you. So yeah, we get back into where he died and where she was ravaged and left to die as well, Shelley. He sees his cat there, an all white, very fluffy looking, I'm guessing like a Maine Coon cat. That's what they're called. I'm not being racist, so shout out to not being racist. I'm just saying that. It's a Maine Coon cat, I believe. But it's really fluffy, really elegant looking, all that shit. It's an all white cat, and funny enough, the cat is named Gabriel. He picks up the cat, all befuddled, wondering how's this cat still alive a whole year later. I didn't feed it. I didn't have an automatic feeder. I don't think they had automatic cat feeders back in 1994. But the cat's still alive, picks it up, and as soon as he picks up the cat, all of a sudden, he's like teleported into the cat's mind and memories of the night when they both died. So he's seeing through the cat's eyes what it saw. I guess it was just looking on. What else is the cat gonna do? Poor thing, of course. Shouts to cats. Watching everything happen as it went down with her and then him, and then they're both dead, and then he's left all alone to do whatever he's got to do. A cat's got to do what a cat's got to do, basically, to survive and live out in these Detroit streets. Symbolism, because the cat is all white and named Gabriel, and that's alluding to the angel Gabriel, who is also known as the messenger of God that helps those to see and seek out the word of God. So, if anything, literally, Gabriel the white cat gave Eric all its memories and its vision of that night when everything happened to him, so he'd know what happened in full detail. And it's really cool too, this part, because as he's seeing what happened from the cat's point of view, his whole physical form is actually reliving and reenacting everything that happened to him while he walked in and got killed because he found out his wife to be was getting pretty much wrecked. He's getting flung around, he's getting moved around, and then he reenacts the was it, I think 2-3 shots he took, and then getting thrown out the window too. But he grabs the ledge at the last second and he brings himself up to see, oh shit, what happened. As he grabs the ledge, he cut his palms open, but them shits closed right up like it was on some Wolverine shit, like just what do you call that shit with Wolverine when he regenerates, right? The healing factor, right? Sorry, so healing factor. He's got this immediate on-site healing factor. Close up his wounds. He realizes, oh shit, I'm different now. He's got to sit down. He's got to figure out what he's gonna do himself. He has to find his attire. He's got to find his makeup, all this shit. But again, it's the very beginning of The Crow as far as what he's gonna do, all the tasks he's got to carry out, and all the justice he's got to serve to these scumbag criminals that did him and his wife to be so dirty. So the Crow is his navigational tool as well. He's got him by default to be his kind of like map, his eyes in the sky, and he's the one that points out to him one of the guys that was guilty of, destroying, ravaging, and doing all the shit they did to Shelley, his wife to be, Tintin. He just happens to be a black guy. So in this case, this movie ain't necessarily well, no, actually, technically, Shelley and Eric died first. They're both white, presumably so. It's not like they said, oh, it's not a horror movie, not a scary movie, but we're going to kill the black guy first anyway. No, because I just gave that away to you. Tintin was the one that killed, one of the many guys that killed Shelley, so now he's got to die too as part of, bringing justice back to the memory and the life of Shelley and Eric. So he confronts him. This whole part is really cool too. This is the first on-screen, kill that he has, the Crow, and it's pretty awesome, because apparently Tintin is a knives expert, so he's got knives tucked away in his fucking leather trench coat. He's just pulling them out and throw them out like throwing stars and shit, but they're not. They're just straight up knives. He's able to toss them so they twirl. He's able to throw them straight. That's a fancy trick regardless. Even if it really doesn't come in handy like that, being able to throw knives perfectly into where you need them to hit, it's still a talent. But I'd be freaked out if I had to deal with somebody like that because, piss them off enough and they're going to want to throw a knife at you. And they'll be able to and hit you at least wherever they intend to do so. Maybe not to kill you, but at least watch you bleed to death. Slowly, at least. He's throwing all this shit. They're fighting. Eric gets thrown to the wall. This fight is super 90s because the obligatory, running into each other. One grabs the other and just tosses him into a wall with a flat back so he doesn't really get injured, but it looks good on film because if you shoot it from the right angle, it looks convincing enough. Like, oh, my back, my sciatica. Or it triggers a sciatica, God forbid. Shout out to anybody out there suffering from sciatica like I do every so often. It sucks. Absolutely does. The guy Tintin's playing kind of dumb at first, but then he admits, yeah, it was me. I did it. I was one of the many that fucking had your wife before you. And he lets him get up so he can throw more knives at him. He does get hit a couple times too, but at this point already, I think we kind of get the hint that the crow is invulnerable, so he's just absorbing and soaking up all the damage, right? He's teasing him, he's taunting him to throw more knives at him. You missed. Do better. Come on, I'm still here. I'm moving, bro. I'm breathing, bro. Come on, let's go. And they end the fight by, catching one of the knives. He throws it back at him. He catches him in the shoulder, pins him into the wall. He drives it further into his shoulder. But then we don't get to see it. It's off screen. Eric grabs all the knives he has possible on his person already in his trench coat. He had like a whole fucking a kitchen's worth of knives on him apparently at all times. And when the police come to carry off his body afterwards, Tintin is just stabbed the fuck up. Just knives falling out of him. He's got so many stabbed into his fucking torso. It's pretty funny actually, but that's the first official confirmed kill. So rest in peace to Tintin, but also rest in piss because he was a scumbag. Just like all the other guys we'll get into as well that Eric got his revenge on. So then we're introduced to Top Dollar. We get our first glimpse of the big baddie in the film. The head honcho, the head cheese, the one causing all the ruckus and signing off on set this bitch on fire, blow this place up, kill these motherfuckers, all that. Except for one thing that stood out to me, and not because I'm bald and not me being jealous, but even when I had hair, I would judge his hair in the movie, Top Dollar, because it is the most bone straight hair I've seen on a bad guy. That he doesn't wear in a ponytail, he doesn't wear like in a man bun, nothing. It's just flowing down over his shoulders, like dried out like noodles that you're about to throw into the pot with boiling water to get the noodles going. They look so shiny and perfect that they're about to snap in half if you touch it, just enough. As corny as the hair looks on him, though, it does get canceled out by the fact of how evil he is. He does it very well. He's funny. He's got like little lines and quips throughout the thing. But he has his voice. He puts on, fuck it, whatever kind of thing. He does like this. It's fast and raspy. Kind of like how, what were the names? Patty and Selma from The Simpsons used to talk. Marge's twin sisters, right? Without the laugh. All he had to do was laugh one time, and he might as well have been named like Top Dollar Simpson or something like that. Look up Bai Ling in the 90s, and that's a good looking woman. And thank God we don't, not that she doesn't have a pretty face, she's got an attractive face, but first thing we see on her is her bare ass taking a shower. Apparently, after so much fucking they had going on, they're a couple of crazies because her and Top Dollar, they're into fucking and drugging people that they fuck. But I guess since he's the Top Dollar, he's only fucking her with other women. So they have three ways. It's two women and Top Dollar. Never another dude, or he doesn't look like he swings that way, but with that hair, who knows? It's like a perfect perm, basically. But they have this one girl in bed who's not moving the whole time. They fucked her and or they drugged her to death. And Bai Ling likes her eyes so much that she has to stab him out of her fucking head to keep him as like, I don't know, little trinkets or something. It is funny to see him and how much he keeps reminiscing and reflecting on his daddy, missing him so much and the lessons he gave him growing up as a boy, which it makes you wonder what kind of lessons was his daddy giving him because he turned out to be such a scumbag, and the head of the scumbags, this Top Dollar fella, with some really good fucking hair, looking like a Pert Plus fucking shampoo head model, crying about his daddy. Woe is me, my daddy left me. Woe is me, my daddy left me behind. He left me with nothing but a snow globe that I look at and I shake at every so often just to get reminded of him. After I do a line of coke, of course. Kind of thing. Like that's how Top Dollar sounds, basically. And that's how he sounds, missing his daddy like he does. It's a bad looking version of Detroit. It's really desolate. That was the thing in the 90s to make the future look so bleak and all that shit too. So dark, literally you can't even see your head in front of your face, kind of thing. And I'd say it even looks worse than the version of Detroit we got in RoboCop, because even though that was in the future and the streets are ran by the criminals, it didn't look as bad as this Detroit looks in The Crow. I mean, just a slight comparison. Who the fuck knows? I'm not, from Detroit, obviously, but makes you not want to go there ever at all in this case. Maybe just passing by, driving by real fast. And maybe me not even driving at the wheel. Maybe I'll be on like a bus if they got that. Just passing by Detroit to go to the nearest city that's not Detroit, obviously. And speaking of rough and tough, holy shit. These bars in this version of Detroit are so dirty and nasty that the bartenders, to literally get the best tip possible, they gotta take the tip from the fucking hooligans and scumbags that frequent the bar so much. There's the mother of the girl that frequents Eric and Shelly. She's there getting fucked in the middle of the fucking bar. There's no way of hiding it or being discreet, or he don't have a big ass trench coat that's like covering both up and he's just like slowly moving, slowly kind of dry humping her. No. It's a straight up fucking. At least that's what it seems like. Her skirt is kind of hiked up, whatever. And her daughter walks in on her getting fucked at the bar. Because, well, that's just what it is in this kind of version of Detroit. But goddamn, that's what it was with the mom. Tits, she's got great tits, though. So shout out to her for having amazing tits in the 90s in Detroit. And as desolate and as despairing and as depressing as that version of Detroit is, it's good to know that these guys still had good taste in tits to fucking put on screen. And were treated, thanks to good casting, to a police captain I think we'd all want to work with, even though he's a bit of an asshole. And he's quick to shoot off at the lip. The lead police captain is played by Ernie Hudson. Yes, that same Ernie Hudson from motherfucking Ghostbusters. The OG cast, mind you. The good version. He's there having fun as a lead cop. He's a great asshole cop. There's no denying that. And by the way, shout out to him for being, I think, 78, almost 80. And he is jacketed. He's muscle on muscle. Black don't crack, obviously. Shout out to that, too. I wouldn't know. I lack melatonin. I need it badly. But to be damn near 80 and as jacked as he looks, just Google him. He looks fucking great. But the only thing that threw me off with him the whole time was that he's got this terrible looking police hat on him. The caps they wear. I don't know if it's called hat or cap, whatever. No cap on me, of course. I'm not lying. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't know the fucking difference. But he's got this police cap on him that looks leathery, rubbery. It looks like a black shower curtain, if anything, to be honest. Because he don't have the badge on top. Because apparently he got demoted from detective, I think, to just, on the street cop like he is right now, or lead cop at least. But he's missing the star. He's got this big black shower cap on him. It doesn't look right. It looks rubbery, if anything. So he's like, is it always raining in Detroit? He needs a shower cap, and he's just passing off as his police hat. I don't know. But that did look funny to me. Especially if you want to tune in, it's at 28 minutes. There's a good shot of it, and it looks terrible every time it's on screen. And of all things, as a Seinfeld fan, confirmed and reaffirmed with how many times I watched that goddamn show, start to finish, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the pawn shop owner that Eric goes to visit because he wants to go and find the ring he gave to Shelley before, of course they both died, is ran by Silvio, the landlord from Seinfeld that hated Newman and did not want Kramer doing the reverse peephole thing, if you remember that little gag they did. Yeah. He's there. He's the pawn shop owner. He's a little thinner, it looks like. Not so much double chin action like Silvio had on Seinfeld. And actually, I didn't notice if he had more or about the same lack of hair like Silvio had. I think it was about the same. I just didn't notice like that. But it's him. Eric walks in. He's, knocking after hours. Of course, this guy's mad. He's like, go fuck yourself, die, you fucking junkie, whatever. Eric has to break in, of course, because the guy's being rude. And, he thinks he's just going to shoot him. He's just like some meth head walking in with like face paint on and shit. Nope. This guy's invulnerable. He can't get killed. He won't die. Nothing like that, too. At some point, Eric has got him cornered and like just crawling away, trying not to die and shit. And he has a funny choice of words as far as what he repeats like 3-4 times. He says, shit on me, shit on me, shit on me, instead of like, How you would if you were looking down like the barrel of someone's gun and it was aimed at you. I don't know. I think I'd be like, "Oh fuck me," or "Oh god damn it," or something like that. But his choice of words is instead "shit on me, shit on me, shit on me" multiple times. I don't know. Maybe he had a shit fetish. It turns out because he was a pawn shop owner in the '90s, especially in Detroit, that kind of Detroit. You probably had to be a scumbag too to be a pawn shop owner. But the emphasis he hits every time he says "shit on me" makes you think he was probably into scat porn or just really into getting shitted on. Like he was an early OG pioneer of like Cleveland Steamers, even though he was in Detroit. Fetishes aside, I don't know. I was left to wonder with all the times he says shit on me, because then he says it again later on in the film too, without even like being provoked like that. Was shit on me part of his script, or did he improv that spur of the moment? That's just how I felt like saying it. Shit on me, kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff I love to find out, or maybe if I ever get the chance to ask him directly, did you come up with shit on me, or was that in the script for you to say shit on me? Because it's a really odd choice of words to say at all. Like I can understand you saying, "Oh my baby shit on me," while changing its diaper in that sense, but shit on me is an exclamation. I don't know. Uh, Again, I would have said "fuck me," "god damn it," "oh shit" kind of thing, but I don't know. Shit on me is kind of pause. Uh, yeah, you gotta pause that, Sylvia. It's all right. If that wasn't explosive enough, what happened just there, the revelation, the real reason as to why Shelley got killed in the first place, that's explosive too, like mind blowing, just like to think. The premise is crazy because after Eric blows up the pawn shop, he does get confronted by the lead cop and he's able to escape because, whatever, he just aloof and like there was guys looting the pawn shop afterwards too alongside him, so he got distracted and let Eric get away. But then that leads him back to the police station to get some evidence given to him, I think, from his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife about why the fuck did they do what they did to Shelley. And what they did to Shelley was kind of unmerited and a little too excessive. So if Top Dollar said, don't deal with her, send her a message not to fuck with me, I guess they took it way too far, obviously, with what they ended up doing to her the whole time. But apparently, Shelley was trying to fight and or prevent people from getting evicted in a specific neighborhood. And I guess that didn't work for Top Dollar, considering that was probably his turf, or he sells product, or he, causes trouble and shit. And then he gives an order, okay, go fuck with her, go send her a message, tell her get back off, basically. It's crazy to think that's all it was. Her just trying to step in to prevent anybody getting evicted from their building. Funboy does bring up one thing, though, just like Tintin did. Not to say he is, obviously, he's not. But Eric does look like a crackhead. Eric does look like a dust head. As far as the face paint, the hair, the getup is concerned. Who in their right mind would dress like that if they weren't getting high, just like Funboy and Big Tits were too? But they have a whole interaction. He shoots Eric through the hand. He's able to see himself that Eric has this like healing factor. Whoop. All the skin, the flesh in the hand regenerates, comes back. He's shooting him some more, and he's shooting him some more, and then takes some for your mother, and then takes some for Shelley, like she didn't get enough already. No, it's enough already, because at some point he's ready to shoot him one more time, but then Eric gets close enough to him to slap him while he's about to shoot, and then instead he ends up shooting himself in the fucking leg. This Funboy guy. So he had fun. And the crazy thing is, dude, the funny thing about that part was he shoots himself in the leg. Clearly, it's in out through the whole fucking thigh muscle. And Funboy is more concerned about what happened to his bed because, quote, he says, "Look what you've done to my bed sheets," as he's kind of just bleeding to death. Not dead, but just bleeding to death. Eric then, I guess, realizes like what he done or like how stupid he was to even say that. Like, you worried about your bed sheets more than your own fucking leg, idiot. But okay, he drags him to the fucking bathroom. He does nothing to the girl, Big Tits McGee. She runs to the bathroom though. She's on the other side, and she grabs like a knife of sorts to stab if she needs to protect herself. Eric drags Funboy into the shower. He runs the water. He wakes up Funboy to get him to confess to more shit that they did that night and to give him the location of the next guy's gonna go after. But he ends up killing, of course, that's the whole point of meeting up with Fun Boy. He ends up killing Fun Boy by taking all the syringes, all the needles he had to shoot up with, and stabs him through the chest multiple times. We don't see it, of course. So he might have been stabbing him multiple times, or he just jammed each and every one into his chest like that, and left him like he was getting dissected in a high school lab, pretty much, when the cops came and found the body. Of course, he's dead. He got injected. I think he got re-injected with all the shit. I don't think he just stabbed him with like empty needles. I think he actually stabbed him with like drug-filled needles. So he OD'd pretty much. That is also right after the girl gets confronted, Big Tits McGee. He grabs her. He has this magic, I guess, too, where he can just like take the morphine and just like zap it out of her body. It flows right out of her open veins. And he says, "Go be a mother. You put those tits to good use. Go be a mother and feed your child. Even if it's got to be dried up titty milk. Feed her something, goddammit. Be a mother. Be present in life." And she runs off in a trench coat with nothing but a nightie on underneath, and goes to see her daughter at the orders of fucking the goddamn guy that got shot in his hand and still living to tell the story. After that, they absolutely paid homage and gave a polite nod to Ghostbusters, of course, Ernie Hudson, as we established earlier, when he sees Eric again in his home this time, and he asks him, "Are you some kind of ghost?" So that's a fun little Easter egg right there, alluding again to Ghostbusters being such a classic film before that. So now he has to give Eric the full deets of, I guess, what he already saw through the cat's eyes of the night when he got killed, as well as Shelley. He has to give him the full details, of course, confirming she was beaten up, she was raped, but he also reveals that he actually stayed with Shelley in the hospital for 30 hours in the ICU before she passed because of, she couldn't tolerate it anymore. She's going through too much. Eric ends up grabbing his head and is able to confirm that by seeing his memories and what happened the full 30 hours of suffering that Shelley went through. So he's like distraught. He's like, "Oh shit, she really went through everything fucking humanly possible. Meanwhile, I was too busy being dead and shit. She's suffering all alone." And he's able to store that in his memory banks, which will come to play later on, of course. We cut back to the pawn shop guy, aka Silvio from Seinfeld, as he's at the bar drinking Crown Royale, drinking away the pain of having lost his whole business, almost dying, getting stabbed through the hand, and living to tell about it. But to tell who? To bitch to who about it? Nobody really, because then he gets pulled up on by the right-hand guy at Top Dollar, this big, tall, black guy in a black suit. And he's told, "Okay, you need to come see Top Dollar. You got to give up info. What the fuck happened? We need to find out more deets," basically. He does give up the info, was able to deliver the message from Eric that death is coming for him, Top Dollar, and everyone else involved. And yeah, that's all we get out of Silvio as far as what good use he's for, because then Top Dollar says, "Fuck it, alright, you're done." Dunzo with him and stabs him in the neck with a fucking sword. He just happens to have a like display case of swords and like weapon closets or whatever. Grabs that. He's not dying quick enough to Top Dollar's liking, so then he grabs the gun from his henchman, the black guy in the black suit, and says, "Please, won't you die already?" Da 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 da. Shoots him up and then says, "Thanks." At least he's polite enough to say thanks to his henchman. So that is, a redeeming factor of Top Dollar, despite all the shit he's guilty of doing. It's a lot. He does a lot. Alright, so now Eric pulls up on both T-Bird and Skank, two of the other guys that were there that night when they killed Eric and Shelley, to get his revenge on both of them. But first, it's T-Bird's turn, because T-Bird and Skank, they pull over, they're going to a shop, they're getting, cigarettes and, I think gas? No, beer and cigarettes. Okay, so healthy, well-balanced diet for both of them. Skank is the errand boy. He goes in to grab the shit. T-Bird's in the car. Eric pulls up on him and makes him drive away, leaving poor Skank behind and crying like, "Hey, T-Bird!" Like it was the end of the world. I mean, you could probably just walk back to the warehouse where Top Dollar's at, but maybe it was a far walk after all. Maybe Skank is scared to walk alone at night in dark, desolate, disturbing-looking ass Detroit. Like they made it look in the Grove. I don't know. But it's a funny scene because it's a cool and funny scene because T-Bird is being held at gunpoint by Eric and told to drive and keeps going faster and faster at Eric's command. The speedometer does say 100 miles per hour, but this car does not look like it's going 100 miles per hour, or at least the way it's shot, because it looks like he's going 50 at most, maybe 45, because he's being conscious of traffic and oncoming vehicles as well. That leads him to get chased by the police. Meanwhile, Skank is left behind. He's left to cry, and he's running out in the middle of the road. So, of course, he gets run over by a hatchback of all things. There's a questionable line by the guy that hit Skank with his hatchback. He gets out the car angry because the guy was in his way, got hit, and ruined his windshield. Guy comes out the car. He says, "Hey, you fuck, something, something, something," but to quote exactly, "You stupid ass hair, you hit my car." I never heard anyone call anyone else an ass hair. I don't want to ever be called an ass hair just because I get so confused as far as like, that's your choice of words to call me? An ass hair? That is disgusting. You know, I wouldn't mind motherfucker, cocksucker, idiot, asshole, but specifically an ass hair. That guy might have some issues he needs to have addressed with his fucking, what do you call it? The ass doctor, the proctologist, right? If he's so concerned with ass hair, that's his first go-to. Stupid ass hair. And it's in the captions. It's not like I misheard shit and or misread it. It's right there. You hear it and you see it. Stupid ass hair. I guess that's the insult most common or local to Detroit, perhaps. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. No pun intended. But the guy gets out the car. He's about to beat up Skank, but Skank gets the upper hand on him, beats him up, and steals his car on top of that after wrecking it with his whole fucking body and ruining his windshield. So now Skank's chasing after T-Bird, and T-Bird's getting chased by the cops. Eric plans it in a way, thanks to the Crow, of course. He's like flying around, zooming around, and like, I guess, through the Crow's eyes, Eric is able to see where they should go in this fucking maze known as Detroit, driving-wise, to the point where he gets T-Bird to zoom past Skank when he finally catches up with him, but in a way that Skank is left to T-bone the fucking cop car. So Skank's out of question, not dead, but just, benched for the moment, while Eric is able to work over on T-Bird. And this was a little, I don't know, confusing or excessive, but then again, they did do too much. Everyone involved, Tintin, T-Bird, Skank, and Funboy as well. They did do too much to Shelly and him, especially to Shelly, poor thing. So he's tying down T-Bird. T-Bird's freaking out as far as like trying to confront him, trying to be like, "Why are you doing this, man? You don't have to do this. Talk to me, goddammit, talk to me," some shit. He gets one good look at Eric's face, and then he realizes, oh shit, it's you. And he's not like, "Oh, were you from last year? Did I find you here? Did I find you?" Like, he knows right away who he is with the makeup and the long hair, despite all that. He's like, no, there's no way it's you. We killed you. There's no way you can come back from where we sent you. You ain't you. He keeps saying, "You ain't you. You ain't you." Something like that. He just learned the language enough to speak and be freaked out like that. But as he's freaking out and realizing, oh my God, a ghost came back from the dead just to haunt and kill me specifically, Eric is finally done strapping him and taping him to the fucking driver's seat, sticks I'm gonna guess it's like a grenade of sorts, in between his legs. He's got the accelerator pushed down for him, and there he goes. T-Bird sent to drive off a pier, against his will, of course. But the funny thing is, and while it does seem excessive and too much, you then gotta remember what they did was excessive and way too much to Shelly. On top of that, leaving her to die like that. The car blows up in a huge ball of flames right before it goes into the water. Presumably he wanted him to sink and drown and die, but then he said, "Yeah, you know what, let's go a little extra." Send him out with a bang. And did that. It reminds me a lot of the 2004 Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, which, not bad. Shout outs to it. Maybe I'll do a review for it one day. But it was a Punisher-esque kind of death. To this point now, a lot of the deaths involved with Eric and killing the henchmen is really Punisher-esque, which is cool. It's a lot it's not super gory. It's not like super bloody either, but it's there. It's violent, and it's satisfying enough. Every time he gets revenge on each individual he's picking off one by one. Then we cut over to Tits McGee, Mother of the Year Now mode. That's what she's on as she's making eggs for her kid that she remembered she had because she wasn't busy getting high, thanks to Funboy and all of them. making the eggs. The kid's like, I don't like eggs. I've grown out of eggs. I came out of one of your eggs, and I still regret that to this day, Mom. But she's smoking. She's making eggs. She makes a joke. Oh, so if you don't like eggs, what do you like now? Black coffee and cigarettes, kind of thing. The kid is kind of harsh towards her, and rightfully so, saying like, "Oh, would you win the lottery? Why do you want to be mom of the year now? All of a sudden, when you were barely there for me, you're too busy like just you know dropping your tits left and right to see who's going to give you the biggest tip, dick or money wise." She feels bad. She's about to throw out the eggs. She says, "Okay, no, 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 fine. I'm hungry. You can feed me. I like them over easy. They have a little bonding moment. It's cool and shit. Once you're off drugs, you can finally, think straight and clearly, I would hope." Now we throw back over to the club slash warehouse where Top Dollar and his fine Asian piece of ass reside, I guess permanently, because why else would they pay rent to live elsewhere if they're there most of the time and most of their activities are conducted in that place, in that location, killing bitches and, stabbing their eyes out and keeping them as collector's items. They got a whole concert going on downstairs, so I guess it's a club and a concert hall, and up top is where they have all the business going down. The song playing during the concert is called After the Flesh. As far as I could see, there was no band associated, and I guess that makes sense because I couldn't understand one fucking word they said throughout the whole time the song was playing. In the background, front and center, it doesn't sound bad. It sounds pretty cool, but it sounds like that. I don't want to say death metal because I don't know the genres like that to really categorize like that, but it's not a bad sounding song, but again, I couldn't make out one fucking word from the lyrics at all. This song, I guess you could just label it as fucking noise because it really was just background noise. I guess whoever made the movie thought, you know what, this song fucking sucks, or this was a mistake. We just promised this band we would, but we'll just never credit them in the fucking film. I don't know. That just stood out. This is going down underneath him while Top Dollar's fed up with Devil's Night becoming a hallmark holiday of all things, according to him. Because he was the one to start the fires. We didn't start the fire. But Top Dollar's like, we did start the fire in Detroit. And he wants to do something big. Like a big ass fire, they think. No, he wants to do something even bigger than that. He's trying to plot and scheme with a round table of fucking hooligans around him. And then the crow shows up, perches himself on the fucking table. Like, who let the bird in? Kind of thing, right? And Skank is there because Skank was freaking out after T-Bird the way he got killed. Came to Top Dollar and was like, I'm freaking out, I'm tripping off balls and shit. He's pretty much got him there like held hostage because I guess he preemptively knew Skank that the crow was coming for him or Eric was coming for him. So now with the crow, Skank is freaking out. Eric shows up, of course. He confronts everybody. He's like, hello, good evening, gentlemen. I've come here for that one scumbag, so if you don't mind, just give up the goods. I'll step away. I'll kill him off camera, and then you can go about your business. Top Dollar's not having none of that shit. He just gives the order right away to shoot his ass up. They do so. They shoot him. He falls off the table. He's presumably dead and just like turning to Swiss cheese. But then someone goes to check on the body, and then we get another pretty cool fight scene, as was the one with Tintin. This one's a lot cooler. This is just guns, everybody shooting everywhere, bullet time, diving under tables. You know what? I think they thought in the back of their minds probably, why not get some office shit? Because it is a warehouse, but I wouldn't say it's a fancy warehouse either. They just got conveniently enough Top Dollars, like really making Top Dollar. He's got this humongous ass, really nice looking round table for everybody to sit down at. But the chairs are all like fancy office chairs, like the shit with orthopedic support and like the massaging lumbar pillow. Not folding chairs, not like beach lawn chairs, nothing. Just like straight office, fucking good office chairs, which are hard to come by anymore. But everyone gets up. They're freaking out. They're shooting everywhere possible because now Eric's on their ass and shooting them up. It's all slow-mo, gun action, diving over here, shooting at the same time. I got this guy in the foot, and I made him, react by getting shot in the foot by shooting this guy in the head kind of thing. It's all over the place. He does this one part where this one guy is standing from his chair. He looks like he was just sitting there the whole time, but then when he realized he was getting too close to him, he decided he's gonna stand up and maybe try to like do something, look like he's gonna do something. Eric does his back roll into a kick, like a drop kick almost, into this guy. This guy falls back into his office chair and shoots out the top of the warehouse window into, I believe it was a river or lake, whatever. But imagine dying that way. Like you're minding your business. Oh shit, they're getting too close. Maybe I should fucking move. And as soon as you get up from your chair to move, you get fucking backwards barrel drop kick into your fucking chair, sent flying out the window, and you're gonna die anyway. And one less office chair does a really good looking office chair. That was the whole point of that. And meanwhile, the party's bumping, music's pumping, everyone's having a good time underneath on the bottom level while all this shit's going on with Eric is shooting and killing and flipping and karate doing whatever, all that shit to everybody. One of the bodies got to fall through the middle and falls into the crowd where the audience starts freaking out. And then that's their only signal where they gotta fucking just break out and leave because the party's over. Eric ruined it for everybody, of course. He didn't mean to. Everybody's supposed to have fun and shit, but still, sometimes when it gets too late, the business needs to get handled, get the fuck out. Let the adults work and talk things over. Top Dollar being the top bad guy, he can't get hurt, not yet at least, till the end of the movie. So he's able to flee with his henchmen and Bai Ling as well, unscathed, undamaged. Skank is left alone finally with Eric. Eric's finally got his chance to do what he's been meaning to do to Skank this whole time. What does he do? He takes Skank and he throws him out the warehouse window, falls into a cop car, and I guess from the brute impact dies on impact. This Skank boy. Which was kind of underwhelming only because I thought maybe he'd really torture, like cut up and slice up Skank just for having the most annoying and stupidest of the old names associated with him. But no, he got off pretty easy. Just like gets thrown face first into a cop car from a high enough fall and just dies upon impact. So there is that to consider at least. Fuck it. That leads into a nice little rooftop chase scene involving Eric and a police helicopter, which is strapped with, I don't know, infinite ammo cheat code that you would put in the GTA with a machine gun. Just dumping clips into him, missing every single shot, of course. Yeah, I don't think it got him at all. No. So it's a whole wild goose chase on a rooftop, after rooftop, after rooftop, jumping, leaping, barrel rolling, all that shit. Ends up with Eric jumping on top of a homeless man's home, aka a bunch of cardboard boxes, destroys his shit. The homeless man's freaked out, he runs out. Eric's having a reunion at Shelly's gravesite with the young girl they, I guess, were caring for when Tits McGee was too busy getting high and fucking in a random bar. At least underneath some nice lighting. They get together at her gravesite. He's all like, you know what? I missed you. I'm sorry I couldn't say it sooner. But, I can't be with you either because I'm dead. I'm only here on a mission. And once my mission's done, then I got to go back to being dead with Shelly at least. But at least we'll be in peace. So you can keep us in your memories and your hopes and prayers. And maybe one day you'll join us when you're dead too, kind of thing. Those kind of vibes. It's very touching, very tender. Of course, Eric's very nice with it the whole time. But she gets the message. She's like, okay, I gotta go then, I guess. Bye. Thanks for saying bye this time at least. She gets snatched up by the black guy in the black suit. Because again, they figure out that she's part of the thing. They realize that. He drags her over to, I don't know, graveyards and or funeral places like that. I'm sorry, but there's like a main building, I'm guessing, is like a church or like a site of prayer or whatever. So they drag the little girl into there to be confronted by Top Dollar and be like, all right, give me the info. What's good with this fucking clown with the bird and shit, kind of thing. As she's crying for despair, the crow, not Eric, literally the crow, hears her crying, and I guess Eric gets a signal as well, so he runs over to where she's at. The black guy is propped up somewhere up high, and his whole MO is just to shoot the bird, so he does shoot the bird. And they confirm their theory as far as like, if we damage the bird, we damage him too. 2-for-1 deal. Shoot the bird's injured, but not dead. So Eric finally starts getting hurt and like actually have wounds stay with him. And so no regenerating healing factor. It's like he's dying, he could die now. He's like a man, he's mortal pretty much. Top Dollar, however, is under the impression that the bird is dead, which would mean if the bird died, then Eric would have died. But no, the bird's only injured. But Top Dollar know that because then he goes immediately into fucking imitating the bird of all things. He says, "Caw, caw, bang, fuck, I'm dead," which is hilarious the way he did it. Just like, to really drive the point home, Eric. Now I got you in my fucking hands, you cuck, ha 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 ha, kind of thing. But again, we confirmed the crow ain't dead. It's just hurt. Eric is able to get hurt now as a result. So now I remember his name, Ernie, because he came in to save the day. He just picked up on the vibes. He was disturbed by what was going on, I guess, the tensity in the air. He comes in blasting to save the day for Eric. He's able to kill the black suit guy. So that's one down, two more to go. But now the Asian sensation out of nowhere grabs the injured fucking crow and takes it hostage to, I guess, source its powers or like make a brew out of it or something like that. Not saying that because she's Asian, but maybe she wants to make some crow soup or something like that. But she's trying to understand it, trying to figure it out. And in the midst of that, Ernie's chasing after her but gets shot too. So now he's out and he's injured. And now the Asian sensation propped right next to the church bell is about to shoot his ass too. But the crow, injured and all, springs back to life and starts viciously pecking away at her fucking face. And she's all like, "Oh, God, I can't." And I guess stabbed her in the eye a couple times where she can't look where she's stepping and she falls through the fucking hole in the middle and she falls to her death. I forget if the bell fell on top of her. She fell, hit the bell, and then the bell then fell on top of her, something like that. But she died, pretty much. She was dead instantaneously. And then we cut to Eric, still wounded, somewhat of some sorts, chasing fucking Top Dollar to the very roof, I guess, of the church, where he's got the little girl held by the hand. He's about to drop her off the roof, but then Eric comes through, confronts him like, "No, let her go. You want me, take me, but leave her alone, goddammit, you piece of shit. You and your perfectly fucking straight hair." And of course, as they engage in battle, the villain is going to have the upper hand for most of the time to add drama and some flair to the story. Eric is left hanging off the roof in a hole in the middle of the thing about to fall to his death, but of course, the villain's got to deliver a speech. Top Dollar's got to tell him about his daddy and the snow globe, and he didn't want to live this life of crime, but he had no choice because it's Detroit, goddammit, so what are you going to do about it? You know the fucking vibes. Sorry I got to do this to you. But instead of being able to finally stab Eric with his big-ass sword, he does, but able to deliver the killing stab and outdo him once and for all. But then before Top Dollar, after successfully stabbing Eric through the back, after he saved the fucking little girl and sent her on her way finally so that she's out of harm's way, he gets stabbed through the chest from the back. He pulls out his fucking sword, wipes it off, this fucking Top Dollar, and oddly enough, it's raining, so, free cleaning on the sword. As he's about to pin Eric back into the wall on the roof and stab him one last time before he's dead for good, Eric finally springs into action, being very resourceful with his fucking psychological tactics, grabs Top Dollar by the head and transmits the 30 hours of suffering and torture that Shelley went through straight into his person. Top Dollar's freaking out. He's seen all the imagery of her being laid up in the ICU and getting worked on and put back together, but she was practically dead when she got there on site. And he can't handle it. He's freaking out. He falls, and he falls on top of a gargoyle, gets impaled, and that's it for Top Dollar, finally. And that finally cuts to Eric crawling his way, inching towards his gravesite, where he once was in the physical form of his body, before he became Worm Chow, basically. He's there. He's hugged up and pressing his head on Shelley's tombstone, reminiscing on her. Then all of a sudden, we get a shot of Shelley. She comes in from the afterlife to pretty much tell him, "Okay, my love, your job is done. The deed is done. We may now rest forever in peace in each other's arms as eternal lovers," and blah, 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 and shit. So now finally, Eric's mission's over. Everything is done. And he can finally lay to rest with his wife, at least in the afterlife now. I don't think they got to wear rings in the afterlife. How could they? They're not physical beings. But the crow comes back, takes the engagement ring that Eric gave to Shelley at some point, and drops it off to Sarah so she can make a little necklace of it. Well, she already did, actually, but then Top Dollar took it from her, so the crow gave it back to her, basically. And then the little girl, Sarah, that was her name, Sarah. She just, remembers them fondly. At least now they're all at peace. She'll never see them again, obviously, but she knows at least they're in a better place, and now they're able to rest in peace. And for the sake of this review, I'm really glad I did, and I could totally understand why people are still so fond of it. People go back to it so often, besides the goths and the rock crowds or whatever. This is just a cool movie overall. The dialogue's good, it's quippy, it's funny. Brandon Lee's having a lot of fun, obviously, playing a role. So that delivers immediately to his performance, and you feel it. He's enjoying it. And I could even see now with the way he was talking, I could see how he influenced two people, two iconic characters as well, besides the Crow, with his performance. One being, and before we give this thing a final score to end this review properly here on Who This Been Watching, episode 72, The Crow from 1994, starring, rest in peace, Brandon Lee. I like to always give you a little bit of fun facts, trivia, or little tidbits from the movie or actors involved themselves, just so you can take that home with you and, I don't know, maybe use it as a icebreaker at your next family gathering. Unless you're into incest, and don't do that. I don't recommend that, but shout outs to you if you're into that kind of weird shit, but maybe just use it at a more, I don't know, at the bar with a stranger, preferably. Like, did you know, like, for example, did you know, like I mentioned before, they used 5 ravens, not crows, in this movie, all trained. They had to get adapted to who they were going to be working with, the trainers, all that shit too, but also there was an Asian character, apparently from the source material, the Crow graphic novel, that was taken out of the movie at the request of Brandon Lee because he said, quote, too stereotypical. He didn't want that, shown in the movie whatsoever. Because when you look at Brandon Lee, again, rest in peace, he doesn't look a thing Asian. I wouldn't even assume or think that. Well, at least in the makeup and the hair, he doesn't look it at all. Other pictures I've seen of him, like, I see, he could be Asian, something like that. He could pass for it, but, like, it's never an immediate guess. There was that. At exactly 41 minutes, the 41-minute range in the movie, when, what's his face? Fun Boy. He's got his gun, he's shooting at Eric and all that, and Eric then slaps him at one point and he makes him shoot himself in the thigh. For some reason, they left it in the movie where he shoots himself in the leg, Fun Boy, but immediately you would think, I shot myself in the leg, my body's going to immediately react for me and fall or collapse from underneath me. No, there's actually a very thin string tied to his ankle, and at the moment he gets shot, someone was hired on the film set to, like, just yoink him at the right time, so it looks convincing, I guess. Maybe the guy was a bad actor. Maybe he was nervous. It was his first time acting in a big movie and he couldn't do it right. So they said, just tie some shit to his fucking leg. And when he shoots himself with a blank, just yoink that shit so he could look convincing. We could fucking finally go home and wrap it up for today at least. Who knows? That was funny. And if you look close enough, you pause it, you're going to see it. It's like a very thin string, but like there's some light reflecting off it where you just see it yoink at the moment where he falls. And one more for the road. This one was fun to realize. James O'Barr, the guy that created The Crow, the comic and or graphic novel, said on one of the Crow DVD anniversary release editions, I don't know which one, I actually kind of want to find it now to see if I could just see this part in particular, said on one of the DVDs on bonus footage and shit, when he first met the movie executives that wanted to turn this into a movie, adapt his shit and turn it into a big fucking movie like it turned out to be, they originally wanted this to be a musical, of all things, get this, starring Michael Jackson. So imagine motherfucking Michael Jackson would have been the Crow at some point had the movie execs gotten their way. And James O'Barr, the creator of The Crow, when he heard that and they proposed that to him, he said he laughed out loud. He was laughing his ass off, thinking that's a funny joke, guys, hilarious, tee hee hee hee, I'm in on it too, kind of thing. But then when he stopped laughing and saw that they were so serious about it, like, no, we really want to cast Michael Jackson and make this a musical, he tried his best to speak up, apparently, but it wasn't until Brandon Lee actually joined the cast that they said, all right, fine, we won't make a musical starring Michael Jackson as a fucking face-painted Crow enthusiast like that, avenging his death and all that. Fine, we'll make it serious like you wanted, Brandon Lee. Fine. Goddamn, you're no fun. Kind of thing. But it makes you think, goddamn, at some point, we could have gotten The Crow, starring Michael Jackson, with nothing but his musical numbers, a musical movie, pretty much, right? The only thing I could think of that would make it worthwhile would have been the soundtrack, which I'm sure he would have curated himself, Michael Jackson, rest in peace, and would have made it epic. This is still like mid 90s Michael. Dangerous was from 1991. That was a pretty good album overall. And then he had his story, 95? That could end up being the Crow soundtrack. Had it gone Michael's way of him doing the Crow. Hey, I'm the Crow. It can't rain all the time. Hi, everybody, I'm the Crow. It can't rain all the time. Caw, hee. I'm just really trying to imagine and or possibly envision Michael Jackson having all kinds of fun on set, pretending to be a crow. At some point, he's going to be demanding a crow costume to be a crow in properly. But then you got to remind him, no, Michael, the source material is the guy paints his face and has a crow as a navigational tool in this earth realm to get him from point A to point B and help him extract justice and revenge on those that did him wrong by killing and raping his wife, or to-be wife, and then him on the eve of Halloween. It's like, no, that's too dark and gloomy. I want to be a crow. Throw me off a roof. I want a fully functioning crow costume. Hee hee, I can make it. Something like that. I don't know. But again, I think the soundtrack with Michael would have been killer. But then also, who could have done a pretty good job as a crow, but then he would have been a really small crow, actually. Is rest in peace, of course, and shout outs to Prince. I mean, he was, athletic at 5'2". Yeah, he could have been a good crow, but like a really tiny crow. But then they'd have to put him in lifts and or stilts or something to make him look convincing. Because then, if you're like a 5'2" guy coming back from the dead and avenging all these guys one by one, they're gonna have to look down half the time to even see Prince Crow, and they're gonna be laughing their ass off, and then he's gonna have to go OD as far as like really killing them, and then like probably having a crow regret picking him as a crow in the human form and getting revenge like that. It's like, okay, you did too much. You're just as bad as them, so now you're going to hell. Fuck you. Shelley's singing with us up here in heaven, you motherfucker, you dirty ass bitch. But then imagine, I would think, the only other person at that time to outdo Michael, if they were going to force, a musical version of The Crow to happen, the other best candidate and the most logical one would have probably been Prince. Even though at 5'2", and rest in peace to our short king, Prince, legend, iconic, no doubt, and I was more a Prince fan than I ever was a Michael, he could have killed it, but he would have been so short at 5'2" that to convince anybody in the movie that he's an actual threat, or let alone a guy that came back from the dead to kill them specifically, they probably would have been laughing their ass off and cutting all the time, being like, I can't even see him. I gotta look down. I gotta remember to look down. This guy's so fucking short. And he's supposed to extract revenge on me from the dead? Come on. But then again, I think with Prince too, we would have gotten a killer soundtrack had he been the one to lead the Crow musical movie. But again, that's in an alternate universe. You want to imagine that in the multiverse, go ahead, go crazy. But we never got either version. Michael Jackson as a crow or Prince as a crow. Shouts to both of them, and rest in peace to both of them. But thank God in that sense. They did enough. They did enough. It's okay. And I guess to end that on a not so high note as far as facts are concerned, what even inspired The Crow to begin with? Not just the movie, but the comic and or graphic novel. In 1981, a 21-year-old James Barr was drawing combat manuals in the Marines when he decided to start The Crow. He hoped it would be a healthy way of dealing with the death of his fiancée, who had been killed by a drunk driver. Quote from O'Barr, I tried all the typical angst-ridden outlets, like substance abuse and going to clubs or parties every night, and just basically trying to keep yourself numb for as long a period of time as possible. Eventually, I was smart enough to realize that was a dead end, and so I thought perhaps putting something down on paper, I could exorcise some of that anger. So that's crazy to think. And shouts to James O'Barr for creating The Crow in the first place, which gave us this great movie as well, based off tragedy. He himself, at 21 years old, in the Marines, that must be crazy enough to deal with from back when, 1981. Losing his fiancée thanks to a drunk driver. That's crazy. At such a young age, too. And he goes on. Pivotal to his comic book's plot line was another tragedy O'Barr heard about, which was a couple that was killed over an engagement ring. Quote O'Barr, I thought it was outlandish. A $30 ring, 2 lives wasted. He said in the book about the production called The Crow, the movie. That became the beginning of the focal point of The Crow, and the idea that there could be love so strong that it could transcend death, that it could refuse death, and this soul will not rest until it could set things right. So, amongst tragedy, there was I'd say almost beautiful premise, because it really is a nice, ideal version of love, everlasting, even as it is at the expense of death and the afterlife involved too. But at least out of tragedy came triumph, at least for James O'Barr. So shouts to him for creating this thing in the first place. The influence that made this movie possible, The Crow, again starring Brandon Lee, and rest in peace to him as well. As far as the final score is concerned for The Crow from 1994, I'm going to be honest, out of a 2, I'm going to give it a 1.5. And I emphasize that by saying I recommend this to anybody to watch at least once. It's cool, moody, broody, funny, full of action. You know, the premise, the story isn't like entirely plausible, of course. It's supernatural, superhero type shit. But it's still done so good. It's so well acted. The dialogue is good throughout. It has its little hiccups and low points and odd choices of wording and such, but it's overall fun. I'd highly recommend it, and I'm going to definitely watch this a couple more times, maybe make it a Halloween tradition, if anything, to watch The Crow, because I know I'll enjoy it at least.
Yo, it's over. All right, it's over. It's over. Move the mic. Move the mic.
Thank you.
All right.